Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to the Mixer. And today I'm going to be covering a topic that I haven't talked about on this channel in a very long time, which is music. Well, not exactly music as a whole, but something very specific, and actually something specific within something specific. I'm going to be talking about Trivium. Okay, Trivium is one of my favorite heavy metal bands of all time, and I don't just mean that like between the old time classic bands and the newer modern bands. No, but they're just my favorite band of all time in general. I really love their work, and I actually got into them around the time that they released I do believe it was Vengeance Falls back in 2013, more or less. But they have actually been active ever since 1999, but they released their first album in 2003 with I believe it was says it right here, Life Force Records. I have a little cheat sheet here in my tablet in case I forget something. And even though they are primarily a heavy metal band, they have been known to dwell in the metalcore, progressive metal, and the thrash metal genre as well. And the thing that I love about Trivium is that they, to me, are poets. It's not just a heavy metal band. They are really good at distorting certain words and meanings to fit them into their songs. They are a very philosophical metal band, and that's why I love them. When I say philosophical, it's because if you're unfamiliar with Trivium, their work is very aggressive and in your face, because they deal with a lot of different themes in their lyrical content, And I do believe that the primary lyricist is Matt Heafy, who's also the guitarist and vocalist, and he implements a lot of different themes into the songs, and it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what they talk about because in every album it seems to be something different, way back in the day, when he was a youngster, he dealt with depression, teenage angst, and thoughts of suicide, a lot of anxiety. So he poured a lot of those into the earlier works of Trivium, But then as time went by, they started to get a lot more complex. They started to talk about famous crimes and then also Japanese and Greek mythology, and the album Shogun in 2008. So they have a lot of really strong roots in philosophy, And the name of the band is actually Trivium, which means, I completely forgot, by the way. I'm gonna have to actually look this up here because I completely forgot what it's about. Trivium right here, guys. It is the lower division of the 7 liberal arts and comprises grammar, logic, and rhetoric, So basically the name itself of the band is already a very philosophical thing, So it's really impressive in my opinion, And the way that they structure their sound, the way that they play their songs, to me is just awesome. I am a really big fan of Trivium for many different reasons, and this is one of them. But I do believe that the thing that most attracts me to them isn't even the sound itself, but just the content behind the songs, the messages in the lyrics, which are so damn heavy if you know what they're talking about. Because if you don't, then you're just gonna be a little lost, So I'm going to, in this video, talk a little more about that, and also kind of like the history of the band in general, and a few other reasons why I admire them so much. So their first album was Ember to Inferno back in 2003, and in my opinion it was a very good debut album. It did very well to establish them as a very strong act in the metalcore genre. They were really heavy, a lot of really progressive beats and sick soaring guitar riffs. Because they have, I do believe, 2 or 3 guitarists. I am a fan of the band, but I'm not too familiar with the actual members, the names and what exactly they do. But I know that there's more than one guitarist, to get that really heavy sound. 2 years later, in 2005, they released Ascendancy, which is, I would go on to say, my favorite album, because it's sort of like the bridge between classic old-timey thrash metal and more modern progressive metalcore kind of thing, because the songs are very heavy, but they kind of mix it together, because Trivium is more about the guttural screams, the growling, and also the melodic singing, most of them done by Matt, but there's also Corey, who's the backup vocalist. But the majority of of the vocals are done by Matt, and he has a very dynamic vocal range, and Ascendancy plays around with the idea, like I said before, the issues that he did that he went through when he was younger, and he also drew inspiration from peers, people that he knew, talking about child abuse and sexual abuse and things like this, you know, to kind of project these messages onto the song. So there are a lot of different themes, you know, in the music present on this album, and I really like it a lot. And Pull Harder on the Strings of Your Martyr is one of their most famous singles ever, and it is pretty much a staple in their live sets, you know. And pretty much every single live show they play this song, even though of course Matt doesn't still have the voice that he used to have, you know, because if you've heard this song in the original form, he pretty much screams throughout the entire song, you know. It's like what, a 3-4 minute song, and what, maybe 60-70% is him just growling the Grotto screams, you know. So it's really crazy. So I think it was a very good change of pace, you know, from their earlier work. But then in 2006 they released The Crusade, which kind of takes a turn into like more thrash metal territory. It goes back a little bit to the classic metal like Metallica, which I believe is their favorite band, you know, so they draw a lot of inspiration from that. And pretty much the entire album is clean in the vocal department, so Matt does very little if any screaming at all. It's pretty much just some aggressive melodic singing, you know. But this album has what I consider to be some of the heaviest songs to date in terms of lyrical content, because he talks about famous crimes, you know. For example, there's damn it, I forgot the name. Entrance of the Conflagration, about Andrea Yates' murder of her children. She literally took her kids and drowned them in a bathtub, you know. Then there's And Sadness Will See, which is about I do believe his name was Matthew Shepard, who was a homosexual who was attacked and killed. Actually, he was tortured and killed by these two other guys. You know, the full story, I don't know if there was some beef going on, but it was obviously a hate crime, you know. And the story goes that he was beaten so savagely and hung. He was tied to a fence, you know, and left there to bleed. And his face was so badly mutilated that people who drove by mistaked him for a scarecrow, you know. And then it's a very powerful thing, you know. It's a very strong story, and Trivium dealt with this, you know. Then there was Contempt Breeds Contamination, which is about the murder of an innocent man by police officers who confused him with someone else, you know. So the album is crazy, man, you know. The album, like, it's a little lighter compared to all of their other works, you know, unless you compare to 2015 Silence and Snow, which was also kind of a little weaker in that department. But still, it is a very heavy album. The sound isn't as heavy because it draws a lot from thrash, you know, but it still is really crazy, and I love it so much. However, in 2008, Shogun was released onto the world, and this here was one of my first exposures to Trivium, you know, as a fan, because this is the album. It's called Shogun, which is the highest military rank in the Japanese army, so it's already, and there's a Japanese kanji on the cover, so they basically take a lot of Japanese culture and traditions and customs into the album, into the lyrical content, and also they pull from Greek mythology. If you've heard this album, you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of songs referencing like the Odyssey and certain stories within Greek mythology, you know, certain legends and myths, and it is really well done. It is very well structured in my opinion, and honestly one of the best albums I've ever heard in my entire life, you know, because they go back to sort of like the metalcore, and it's like thrash metal but even heavier. They go back to the really aggressive heavy metal side, you know, where there's a lot of really crazy guitar riffs, you know. I think they use 7-string guitars in some of the songs, but it's really heavy. The songs get longer. We're talking about like 5-6 minute songs, you know, so it's like heavy metal power ballads, so to speak, you know. So they do draw from a lot of the old style metal as well to make this album, you know. And in my opinion, man, it's crazy. My favorite song, it's either gonna be Down From the Sky or Into the Mouth of Hell We March. Those are my two favorite songs from this album, you know. I do pretty much love it all the way through, but I really enjoyed the idea of Down From the Sky playing a little bit with the idea of nuclear warfare and Holocaust, you know, and how something really bad might happen because the leaders are consumed with power and want to kill innocents, you know. So yeah, I really like that one as well. So So then in 2011 they released In Waves, which is actually funny because it's like one of my least favorite Trivium albums, but it does have some of my most favorite songs, you know, which are actually part of the I guess it was the deluxe edition, you know, where one of the songs was even used as a soundtrack for the God of War 3 game, which was Shattering the Skies Above, you know. And In Waves is different because there is a very clear thrash metal influence from bands like Metallica and Machine Head, you know, and there's even a little bit of like the early melodic death metal sound from In Flames back in their early days of their career as well. So it's a very progressive album, you know. There's a lot of progressive metal as well in my opinion, you know, and it's really good. It's not bad by any sense of the mean, you know, but it's a little different. It's like Trivium. It's almost like Trivium was like parodying themselves, you know. It didn't really sound like them, but at the same time it was okay because the guttural screaming came back really strong in this one, you know. The growls and the melodic breakdowns, there was really cool. I do believe that they also utilized 7-string guitars as they did in Shogun, you know, so very good album as well. And oh god, sorry, my little mirror fell. I have a mirror here that shows me that I can use to see behind the camera, and so I think it's a really good album. I think it's very good, you know, and it kind of established them as heavy metal, really like monikers at this point. You know, they were really good at their craft, and I think it's like a very good bridge between Shogun and the next album, which is Vengeance Falls in 2013, which was my first exposure ever to Trivium because the first song that I ever heard of them was Strife, which I thought was really cool. And I thought that the progression and the guitar riffs were really amazing. Everything just sounded so clean, you know, and awesome. And I ended up listening to that entire album and going down a Trivium rabbit hole where I discovered their other singles from other albums, you know, and the rest is history, you know. I became a really big fan. And Vengeance Falls deals with a lot of heavy themes as well, you know. There's a lot of wartime themes, you know, and they pretty much talk a lot about like the more philosophical side of life itself, you know, the social issues that we face, you know. There is a song, for example, I do believe it's called Jesus Christ, what's it called? Sorry, I didn't mean to take his name in vain there. There's a song that's called, it's not Vengeance Falls, it's oh my god, I forgot the name of the song, but there's a part of it, there's a certain, you know what, let me look it up here. I have the cheat sheet here, right? Let me just open up the album link. Let me see if I can find the name of the song. I do believe it's, I think it's Villainy Thrives. I'm pretty sure it's Villainy Thrives where Matt says, I want to ruin the rapist, punish the criminal, violate the abuser, and end the murderer. Like, that to me just speaks volumes, man, you know? That is just really freaking crazy. I love it so much. I love it so much, you know? And to me, it's very powerful in the sense that it talks about what we should as a society treat the people who do wrong to others, you know, so very nice. Other than that, nothing too special. There were a few covers. There was Skulls BR-138 by the Misfits, you know, a few other songs as well. I think it was in this album, nope, sorry, it was in Shogun where they covered the Iron Maiden song, you know. Iron Maiden was a very strong influence in Trivium's work, you know. I think Matt went on to say at one point that, like, if it wasn't for Iron Maiden, Trivium wouldn't even exist, you know. So similar to Avenged Sevenfold with Guns N' Roses, you know, influence is a powerful thing, man. Anyway, 2 years later, Trivium came out with Silence in the Snow, which was very strange because Matt Heafy, at one point in 2014, he blew out his vocal cords, you know, I guess on excess of guttural screaming, so he couldn't do any more growling, you know. I think he had to do surgery, you know, but the point is that he was a little bit different on this album, you know, because I do believe it's the only Trivium album to feature completely clean vocals, you know. There was a little bit of I mean, the album was still pretty heavy, you know. It was really good. I actually liked it a lot, you know. It's pretty much like it drew a little bit from hard rock influences as well, you know, so it was less metal and more hard rock, you know, because Matt couldn't do his guttural screams anymore. But the whole entire album is very strange because I don't know if it's just me, maybe my ears are strange or something, but it seems like the entire album has a very muffled sound. Like every single song has almost like it's like there's a plastic wall in front of them or something, because everything seems a little muffled, but that could be just me. But very good album. Pretty much every single song is amazing, you know, so I think it's like the one Trivium album that I don't dislike any song. I love every single song, but I'm not a big fan of the style, you know, because Trivium is primarily a heavy metal band, you know, with thrash metal influences and some early days in the metalcore genre. So it's very strange to see them try to take something like hard rock, you know, but nothing too much to say about that album there. I'm trying to get through this quickly because there's a lot of albums to talk about, you know, but basically 2 years later they released The Sin and the Sentence, which is a return to form because now Matt had his voice back, so there was some growling, some guttural screaming here and there, and the lyrical content is very strong as well, you know, and it's the music videos also have a lot of really strong images because they're talking about like the Last Supper and religious themes, you know, and context within that, so it's a little controversial in that department, but they do go back to their original sound. It's a lot more metal influenced, you know, and there's also elements of progressive metal in it, so I think it was really cool as well. So it's kind of like a return to form, but also experimenting with new things, you know, because the songs now are long as hell. I think that there are some songs that are just a little over 6 minutes, man, you know, so it's a very classic, you know, rooted heavy metal album, you know, because back in the day, the heavy metal bands would make really long songs for some reason, you know, I don't really know why, but I don't know, maybe just to show off a little bit more, you know. So 2017 I think was really cool. Sorry, The Sin and Sentence I thought was really cool in 2017. Last year they released something that I caught on Spotify, which was What the Dead Men Say, you know, a really heavy album in terms of the lyrics because oh my god, man, I mean there's even a song where he talks about having to put down his dog, you know. I do believe it was in What the Dead Men Say, or maybe it was in The Sin and the Sentence, you know, but it's kind of a return to form for the metalcore because they do play a little bit more of that as well, you know, and try to go back to the thrash metal. Let me see if this is the album where yes, the song Sickness Onto You, about 6 minutes long, is him having to put down his dog, you know, so obviously a very bad thing that all of us have to go through, you know, at some point, you know, so I think it was nice because it was them, it comes from an old poem about what the dead men say. It's like a pirate's poem, you know, of ghosts in the waves, the oceans, you know, so to me it represents Trivium in their prime, you know, going back to form because they are primarily a poetic band, you know, so I really love this album. Like the sound was amazing, you know, because there were really nice guitar breakdowns and drum solos, you know, so it kind of really sounds thrash metal. It's almost like it's Metallica in the modern day setting, you know, so very nice. They pull a little bit from Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, all those thrash metal big fours, you know, so I think it was really nice. However, now we get to the one that I don't know too much about. I actually found out about this while doing research for this video. In the Court of the Dragon is the upcoming 10th album, you know. I found out about this now. Apparently it's going to be released. There are already 2 singles, which is In the Court of the Dragon and Feast of Fire, but they already have the track listing already down, you know. There are going to be a few songs. Oh my god, 3 songs are going to be over 7 minutes long, dude. Like what the hell, you know. These guys are really good at what they do because they just want to show off, don't they? So yes, I'm really excited to hear this album, you know, and even though I've been jamming to more Trivium lately, you know, than other bands that I like because I'm always curious because they are extreme workaholics. They're like me putting out YouTube videos, you know. I want to put out a video every single day, you know, and they want to put out an album every few years or so, and I want to go back at some point and binge listen to all of their albums, you know. I'll probably start doing that next week, you know, when I go to work and back, so gotta buy myself a new pair of headphones. So I think it's really cool in that department, you know, and Trivium to me is the primordial heavy metal band, dude, because they really do have a little bit of everything, don't they? Okay, so I'm aware that the video is getting pretty long, okay, but I'm almost done, okay? I'm gonna wrap it up now talking about their musical style, you know. They have always been described and still are today as just a heavy metal band, you know, that's what they play, but they have explored many other different genres, you know, including metalcore, thrash metal, progressive metal, melodic death metal, power metal, death metal, alternative metal, and groove metal. They pull a lot from these genres to influence their music, you know, and their music mixes, they include, they kind of mix around with soaring and crushing guitar riffs and dual guitar harmonies, and also double bass drum patterns and occasional blast beats, you know, and also some breakdowns that you can pretty much expect from metalcore, you know. It's kind of like the thing, and they combine melodic singing with really heavy screaming and growls, you know, and they are one of the notable new wave of American heavy metal acts, you know. And their style has evolved a lot over the years, you know. It's actually really crazy how much they can evolve while still being inside the heavy metal genre. You know, it's kind of like Slipknot, where they do evolve, but at the same time, you know that that's still heavy metal. It's really cool. I'm really anticipating Slipknot's new album as well. I'm going to talk about them in another video. And I just really love Trivium. I really do. And if you guys have never heard them, if you're a fan of heavy metal and you don't know Trivium, well, consider this video kind of like a free merchandising for them. You know, I'm definitely giving them a shout out here. Listen to them because they are really cool. If you have Spotify or any other streaming service, they definitely deserve, you know. If I could recommend you starting off with an album, get into maybe Shogun in 2008, because it's kind of like the perfect bridge between all of their works before that were really heavy and now that are a little less heavy. Shogun is right in the middle, you know, so I would recommend starting with that one. But if you're feeling a little bit more conservative, just go back to Ember to Inferno in 2003 and just start from there and just work all the way up, you know. Try to binge listen to all of their albums before the 10th one comes out soon. When is it gonna come out? I'm going to mark this on my calendar. It's gonna come out on October 8th. Hey, the month of Halloween, the same month that Halloween Kills the movie is going to be coming out. But okay, guys, I think that's it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about one of my favorite bands ever, you know. First time in a very long time doing a video about a band, you know. It's going to be kind of similar to the player profiles on the Mixer, but it's not going to be about bands now, you know. I'm trying to change up my content, do something different than just sports and random spooky places around the world. So, and it's going to be a chance for me to share my musical tastes with you guys, you know. So yeah, I hope you liked it. And if you did like it, then please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel, because I release videos every single day to entertain you guys, okay? And hit the notification button to know exactly what time I upload, because I do that completely at random. You never know when a video is going to be coming out, okay? And that's it for now. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.